The fight for Gambit's very soul comes down to an epic battle between the X-Force and X-Factor against the X-Men in Season 2's finale. So I just finished watching Season 2's finale of X-Men 97, and holy crap, there's a lot here to process. This exploded with so many things happening, and I'm about to get into all my favorite parts and dissect this, so spoilers ahead, fair warning. We start with an unusually thorough and lengthy explanation recap of everything that's happened throughout Season 2, leading up to this very epic and intense moment facing off between X-Force and X-Factor on the one hand, and X-Men on the other hand, to fight for the fate of Gambit, who's inhabited by Apocalypse. One side wants to stop Apocalypse at all costs, the other side wants to save Gambit at all costs. This epic clash of the X teams is represented in the intro. Much like the X-Force intro that we got a few episodes back, we now have an X-Factor centric intro, which is just a great way to change up the cards yet again. How insane is it that we actually have X-Force agreeing to team up with X-Factor for their common cause? Turns out that tower card was representing the new tower where the X-Men reside outside of their X-Mansion. This episode was like something you dream up of as a kid when you're sitting around talking with your buddies. Like, wouldn't it be cool if you actually had the big X teams, X-Force, X-Factor, and X-Men battle it out and go against each other? Well, it actually happened in this episode. We saw a full roster of all these teams going head to head in a big clash. I mean, what more could you ask for out of an X-Men episode than to see X-Force, X-Factor, and X-Men go into this giant battle against each other? And in the context of this battle, there's so much drama underneath what these characters are going through, right? So you have Jubilee, who was part of the X-Men, then joined X-Force for a little while, and then came back to the X-Men, is now facing off against her former team, X-Force. Polaris, who was an original X-Men as well, left the team to go work for X-Factor, came back to X-Men, only to face off against her former team, X-Factor. Perhaps the most dramatic conflict of all is Cable facing off against his own parents, Cyclops and Jean Grey. Cable will stop at nothing to put an end to Apocalypse once for good, to stop him from killing all the billions of people that he's going to kill. And he's willing to kill Gambit, which is one life, compared to the billions of lives he could save if he's able to defeat Apocalypse. Cyclops and Jean, on the other hand, will stop at nothing to protect their own, to protect their X-Men, to protect Gambit, even if it means hurting their own son in the process. This whole battle was very similar to what we saw in Captain America Civil War, where you had two sides of the Avengers go after each other, but none were really trying to hurt or kill the other side. They just wanted to stop them from doing what they needed to do, and they're at odds with what their goals were. So you had kind of a friendly banter in some of these battles, such as the Jubilee versus Havoc dogfight, which is an awesome sequence. And you get kind of that tone in that same sense when Havoc's like, not bad, Jubilee, that sort of thing. So you can tell there's a little bit of lightheartedness in this battle, that they're really not trying to kill each other. There were so many epic fights in this episode, and it was just back to back to back. So you had another one with Wolverine seemingly going against Psylocke and Archangel, and then you realize, nope, that's actually Morph tag teaming the real Wolverine in, and now it's a fair 2-on-2 fight. For the toy collectors out there was a nice little nod, right? So you got Wolverine fighting Psylocke, and then he pulls her sword out of her sword holder from her back and starts fighting her with her own sword. And a nod to the Wolverine action figure from Toy Biz, where he's in his orange suit and he has the katana sword as his accessory. There's this epic shot of Cable from his backside looking into the battle and seeing all these different colored lasers, and you hear the music that sounds very similar to the Terminator music, as well as the sound effects of lasers. It seemed very intentional that they're trying to remind you of the Terminator movies when they throw back to those future scenes of the humans fighting the robots that have taken over, and it's the same sound effects, same aesthetic. And that makes sense because Cable is very much like a Terminator character. He's from the future, he's half cyborg, and he goes to the past to try to change the fate of the future. After spending so much time with Gambit's absence, they really gave us a sweet reintroduction, because when Polaris and Bishop were having trouble fighting off Multiple Man, Strong Guy, and Siren, all of a sudden you see Gambit's card hit the floor, explodes, and he just jumps in and just owns everybody. no problem, doing his thing. Quality over quantity, mon ami, which I just love that. That's so Gambit of him to say. It was pretty devastating seeing Cable creep out of nowhere and just shoot Gambit point blank. And he did it. He did what he said he was going to do, and he did not hesitate. There were a lot of emotional undertones throughout this episode, but perhaps the most heavy emotional aspect was Rogue making the sacrifice to give up her life in order to get a power upgrade to stop Apocalypse and to save Remy LeBeau. But she had to make that deal with a celestial, Esson, the Searcher. She was willing to do anything to save him. Apocalypse repeats, "The ones you care for will be your undoing," to which Professor X, sensing that Rogue was on the way to save the day, says, "No, you're wrong. They're the reason we survive." Rogue, using her newfound powers, was able to free Remy and contain Apocalypse in a little capsule, which she casually hands over to Cable, trusting that Cable will know what to do with him. And by the way, the whole mashup of Gambit slash Apocalypse, that was like the weirdest image to me. It looks totally crazy, right? Because it's basically like Apocalypse, but he still has the trendy hair that Gambit has. And it was just a weird design that I just wasn't prepared to see. But I guess if you're trying to represent Gambit being possessed by Apocalypse, that's what it would look like physically. So Remy is back to normal. Rogue is there, and apparently she's not going to lose her life because Nightcrawler decides to step in and make the sacrifice for her. Although they left the episode on kind of an unsettling note because we don't exactly know what is going to happen with Nightcrawler. Is his life going to be taken from him? Or is there another path that will satisfy Esson short of taking away Nightcrawler's life? Normally, when Rogue kisses Gambit, he loses his power close to death, like what we saw in the original series. But here, when she kissed him, nothing happened. So is that because of her power change from her transformation? Is that because of something that Gambit went through? Maybe a little bit of both. Like Cable has Apocalypse literally in the palm of his hand. What's he going to do with Apocalypse? And what's he going to do with his life? Like, that's his whole life's mission, was to stop and kill Apocalypse, right? So is he going to go find a way to destroy this thing or what? But the way they drew that scene, it looked like he had like a sigh of relief, like it's all finally over. So I'm curious to see what he actually ends up doing. Post-credit scene, we find out that Mystique is back, and she ends up killing Val Cooper and presumably taking her place as the leader of the X Factor team. So I guess that's a setup for season 3, and what we're going to see is Mystique kind of playing her games and tricking the teams into thinking that she's Val, and who knows what her mission and what her goals are. Maybe some of the members of the Brotherhood will come back and help her do her bidding. As exciting as this episode was, of all the battles and all the characters in the mix and all the craziness that was happening, I do feel like it was kind of rushed. You get battle after battle after battle at the X Tower. Rogue comes in, she saves Gambit and captures Apocalypse. Nightcrawler might be giving up his life, and then cut to Mystique. It just felt really rushed. And I noticed that this season had only 9 episodes compared to 10 episodes in season 1. And I wonder why that is, because I feel like the finale would have benefited from 2 episodes rather than 1, even though the action was a lot of fun. I think they could have done a better job stretching that out and letting us feel the emotional beats a little bit more. Why did we come up with 1 episode short? Overall, I'm very satisfied with season 2 and the overall quality. I felt like it was on par with season 1, and I hope they keep that caliber of writing and execution for the next few seasons that we are anticipating and getting. But if I were to compare, I think season 1 packed a bigger punch for me. Maybe because it was still fresh and still new. And now we're a little desensitized because we're in season 2 and we're getting more of the same. But I just felt like season 1 had more charm and more big moments. Although season 2 had very similar moments, right? So in season 1, you had the death of Gambit. Big moment there. Season 2, you got the death of Magneto. Equally big moment. And a lot of great nods and a lot of fan service and that sort of thing. But some of the writing was a little off. Some of the lines weren't as powerful or as well written or as well delivered as it could have been. And there's some pacing issues with some, random side adventures and side quests that had nothing to do with the Apocalypse stuff. And then the Apocalypse stuff felt overall just kind of rushed. Still excited to see more episodes and see what they do with the franchise moving forward. And I'm so grateful and so happy that they brought back one of our beloved animated cartoons from our childhood, aged it up a little bit, made it more appropriate for people our age who grew up watching it. Really excited to see where they go next. You know, we got Mystique, what other characters will pop up, and what new plot lines we're going to get now that the Apocalypse chapter has been closed. Let me know your predictions. Do you have any thoughts or desires on what you would like to see in season 3 and maybe in season 4? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, this is PK's Reviews.